All right, folks, let's get set up with everything that we need for this course. First thing we need is Node. Wouldn't you have guessed that you need Node for a Node.js course? Thing here is that you need to make sure that you have version 7.6 or above. So you might have Node already on your computer. However, what we are using is the latest and the greatest because Node in version 7.6 introduced something called async await, which is going to make our lives writing Node code so much easier. You're really going to enjoy it. You need to make sure that your environment supports it before we can actually write any of this code. So what you can do is if you already have Node installed, open up your terminal and go over to any folder. It doesn't matter that if we're in the dang that's delicious. We'll talk about that in just a second. You just type node-v and see which version of Node you have. If you see 7.6 or below, then you'll need to go ahead and download the latest version from nodejs.org or use any of your N or NVM or anything that you use to change your Node version if you're already comfortable with that. If you're not, click on this, download it, hit the next buttons. You're also going to get NPM, and that will come with a version above 4 will be good enough. Next thing that we need is to NPM install all of our dependencies. So in your dashboard for your account, it's going to look something like this, but it will say like, Learn Node right here. You're going to see a button that says download starter files. You go ahead and click that. That's going to link you off to the GitHub, which you can then click and download all the files. In that, you're going to have a folder called starter files. I recommend that you rename your starter files directory to dang that's delicious or whatever it is that you'd like to work on it. The way you can tell is if you type ls-l, you'll be able to see all of the different files in there. And the one that we're actually looking for is the package.json. So you know you are in the right folder if you see a package.json. Then we simply just need to go ahead and type npm install. What that's going to do is it's going to go off and grab all of the dependencies, all of the frameworks and all of the little helper files and absolutely everything that we need in order to run our Node application and interface with MongoDB and open it up in the browser. All of that stuff is in our dependencies. And we're going to go through each of those dependencies and explain why we picked them and what they're used for. But at this point, what we're just doing is we're just going off and grabbing an NPM installing them. Next up, when that has finished, we need to make sure that our code editor understands what Pug files are. Pug is going to be the template engine that we're using to generate our HTML. So we're going to have a whole bunch of data, and we need to loop over and display that data in HTML. And how we do that is with Pug. We've got all kinds of stuff coming up on it, but before we get into that, we need to make sure that our code editor understands it. So if you're using Sublime Text, what you want to do is install the Jade package. And what that will do is when you open up one of your things and you open up a random Pug file, here I've got some base ones that you're going to be starting with. If it is not syntax highlighted, what you need to do is go into the bottom right-hand corner, click on Open All with Current Extension As. You want to find Jade in here, and then click on Jade, and that will set anything with a .pug file on the end to open with the Jade highlighter. If you are in Visual Studio Code, it comes default. You don't need to install anything. If you are in Atom, there is one called language-jade, which will get you set up for highlighting in that one. I'm sure every other editor has support for that as well. So make sure that you can open up your Sublime Text. Also, I'm going to be opening up some JavaScript files, and we're going to be using some advanced new features to JavaScript called async await. And in order to get the best syntax highlighting for that, we want to have a syntax highlighter in Sublime Text called JavaScript Babel. And you've probably done this in my other tutorials, but again, if you don't have it, make sure you go grab that from package control. The ones in Visual Studio Code and Atom are already up to date, so there's no need to install any new ones. Finally, before you email me asking what terminal do you use, what color scheme do you use, what font do you use, what kind of toilet paper do you use, go to wesboss.com/uses. And I detail absolutely everything down. It's probably the stuff you don't care about, but if you do, it's listed here. And it has all of the themes that I use for Terminal, all the programs that I use, all the fonts that I use, and everything else. If there isn't something covered in here, shoot me an email and I will add it to the list. Other than that, our environment is now set up. we're going to move on to next, which is MongoDB.